Hi, and welcome back to ScottiesTech.Info. I'm Scotty with my co-host Cletus, and I wanted to weigh in a bit on all this nonsense going on with like Alex Jones being banned and like the censorship that's occurring. So, of course, you've heard that, you know, a bunch of people like Alex Jones was taken off YouTube. Like he and Diamond and Silk and all these like conservative people were basically kicked off social networks, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, whatever. In some cases, they were actually put on a timeout, which is pretty cool because that means that basically the main social networks are treating us all like 4-year-olds now. Like we need a timeout. So that was pretty funny. Most people have actually come out and said, including very popular personalities like Joe Rogan, they've all been coming out and they've been saying, well, it's all about freedom of speech. Except they qualify it and they say, you know, I don't agree with everything that Alex Jones says, but it's an issue of free speech. And I don't know about you, but I don't really like that terribly much. I think that's cheap. That's kind of like the wimpy way out, because everyone is suddenly trying to distance themselves from Alex Jones. Never mind that he has millions of followers, and it doesn't really matter whether what he's saying is true or not. What matters is that he does have the right to say whatever he wants within the law, right? So if he's breaking the laws of the United States, then YouTube as an American company should do something about it, right? But if you have freedom of speech, then that means you actually have to break the law before you start being silenced, because if you're silenced before you break the law, then we no longer have freedom of speech. Now, I'm not going to qualify that statement, the statement that I think that Alex Jones deserves the right to say whatever the heck he wants, because I think I have the right to say whatever the heck I want. You have the right to say whatever the heck you want without being censored by anyone, unless you break the law. That's sensible, right? It's reasonable. But if I said then, well, but I don't agree with everything that Alex Jones says, then basically I've just said that because I'm afraid that, well, YouTube might shut my YouTube channel down. In other words, because he's being silenced, I'm afraid that I'm going to be silenced, and so I'm going to try and distance myself. And, you know, I understand human psychology, because you can say things like, well, I think Alex Jones should be able to say whatever he wants. And some people will instantly assume that that means you agree with and 100% support everything he says. That's what happens when people are overly emotional about something. The ability to think goes straight out the window. And that's a problem. The second thing I want to talk about is many people have said that we should turn all these private companies, Twitter, Facebook, Google/YouTube, we should turn all these private social networking sites into public utilities. And I kind of see where they're coming from, but I don't really agree with that either, because first of all, you have the problem that if you have public utilities, such as electricity, the power company, in many cases throughout history, these public utilities still acted as monopolies. Service went down the tubes, costs went up, people were, you know, had like solid gold toilets, you know, in their CEO office and, you know, that kind of thing. So that doesn't really solve the problem, and that's also kind of like a cheap solution, because it's kind of like trying to fix the problem without actually fixing the real issue. You also have kind of a little problem there, because you kind of understand where they're coming from, because you're saying, well, look, if it's a private company, they can do whatever they want. Like, for example, if I start a gaming website, like a gaming forum, a forum for gamers, right? I can set that up on a server and I run it. It's a private forum for gamers, right? So if somebody comes on there and starts saying things that I don't like, well, I just click the button and I ban them, and no one cares, right? Well, probably the person being banned cares, but it's not illegal. And so, well, there you go. So then the argument is, well, but YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and these big corporations, they're in the same situation. It's the same boat. And I also don't like that argument because that's also kind of cheap. And the reason for that is what we actually have is the CEO of Twitter coming out and saying, we're not actually censoring people based on their political and social beliefs, we're censoring people based on their behavior. But of course, naturally, one's behavior, of course, derives from one's religious and social and cultural views about life, the universe, and everything. Then he went on to say, well, yeah, and all of us at Twitter, we're kind of left-leaning. So we have these companies, which are mostly left-leaning, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, who are the private companies, but they're very big social networks. And they are now deciding who can and cannot say what. The big problem there is that these same people and companies, back when Donald Trump was elected president of the United States, came out and said, we have this massive problem. And this massive problem is the fact that the Russians use social media to affect the outcome of the election. So the same people who are saying that Donald Trump is president only because Russia are now saying, yeah, we're going to censor you. So the same people who said that social media is super important and that it actually has the power to influence people's thinking to the extent that the presidential election in the United States of America could be swayed by simple posts on social media, right? They were complaining about this is bad, because we didn't want Trump, and this is very bad. It's look at the power. They are now saying they're doing exactly what they accuse Russia of doing. And of course, there's been no evidence at all that Russia actually had anything to do with it, because we're told that, oh yes, there is evidence, but it's top secret. You can't see it. However, Russia itself has not been given any evidence. So if we were to take this to a court, the judge would throw the case out right away, which is ridiculous. So the stakes here are a little bit higher. And, you know, when it comes to left versus right, this is really nothing new under the sun. I know in recent times there's been lots of stuff about, like, you know, men versus women and this ethnic group and racial group versus that group and blah, blah, blah. But the majority of people, that no one's asking them what they think. So you've got all these people and they're at each other's throats, and you've got left versus right. And this is basically same song, different verse. Do you remember? I remember back after 9/11, George W. Bush was president, and it was the neoconservatives, and it was basically at that time it was the right wing who was in power. And if they went in and destroyed Iraq and Afghanistan, well then they can do that, right? Because maybe it didn't have anything to do with 9/11, but who cares? They're going to do it anyway. And if you said anything against what they were doing, you were evil. So the point is that back in those days, which is not so long ago, the right was running the show, and they were basically trying to silence anyone on the left who said anything that they disagreed with. And of course, at that time, they apparently had more control than the left did. Fast forward to today, and you have the left apparently has more control than the right, even though the president of the United States is supposedly right-wing and, like, God only knows. So it's the same thing, it's just now in reverse. So, you know, it's kind of like it's all ridiculous. Because people used to call me a lefty 10, 15 years ago, and now today I post something on Facebook and they're telling me you're an evil right-winger. And, like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone, because it's like I'm standing on planet Earth here, and it's like I didn't go anywhere. It's like I'm standing here and someone took the Earth and, like, rotated it 180 degrees, and suddenly, like, I'm standing in China, and they're like, oh, you're evil, you're Chinese, you're what, you know, and I'm going, like, what the heck happened? I didn't move anywhere. My beliefs didn't change. My opinions didn't change. You know, I still look at the world the way I did before, so I used to be left, now I'm right? Like, what is wrong with you people? What's going on? So, yeah, I think everyone just needs to, like, take a deep breath, breathe in through your nose, hold for a second, breathe out through your mouth. Because this is, I mean, who knows where it's going to go. But it's happened before. All the roles were reversed. We all survived. So let your opinion be known. Keep your wits about you. And just basically carry on. Because, you know, I'm not saying you should do nothing. You should speak your mind. Because that's free speech. And when people speak their minds, that's when hopefully we work things out. Now, in recent times, it seems to me that people are just getting more and more kind of hysterical about things, but then, you know, that's happened before as well. So, right. And as for me, you know, people say like, you know, oh, you're left, oh, you're right. I'm like, no. I'm not left. I'm not right. I'm not alt-left. I'm not alt-right. I'm not even alt-center. What I am is Control-Alt-Delete. Reboot the mother. That's me. Anyway, so for more techie tips, see ScottiesTech.Info. Thanks for watching. See you next time.